I'm Scott L. Miller. It's the 11th of August, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in León, Nicaragua, and it is Friday. We're going to be heading out to see a band tonight, which we've already posted the live feeds from, so we're not going to show that really here. You can go watch those already. If you haven't seen it, hit the live tab on my page, on my YouTube page, and it'll show you Monty and Monty Part 2, two-part concert that we did a live cast of tonight. And if that's not what you're looking for, and you're here for the daily update, we're going to be talking about Chisme culture here in Nicaragua. We're going to get to that right after the bump. Welcome to another beautiful Friday here in Nicaragua. We are in León right now, and I am doing another video from the garden. I know I do quite a few right now here because we've been so far behind, just things have been so busy. I think we're doing a pretty good job of catching up. At this point, we're not totally behind the 8 ball on videos, and we did a bit of filming out of town starting the day after tomorrow. So we've already done that. I'm filming a little bit out of order, but we're working really hard to do the catch up and get everything edited. Yesterday's video was kind of huge and took a lot of editing. So we knew there was gonna be a bit of, just need a little bit of a simple episode for today. So we're talking about Chisme culture. That is the gossip and talking about the community culture that goes on in Nicaragua. This is a really strong thing, and it's kind of important for people to understand because you may not be aware of this, and it is such a strong part of the culture. And of course, Nicaraguans, if you talk to them, they'll be like, yeah, of course that's how things work. And as being from somewhere else, you'd be like, I'm not used to this at all. So first of all, today is Friday. As I said, we are traveling this weekend for the Ipico in Granada. So we have a lot going on. I'm going to be in Granada Sunday for that. I'm going to be in Messiah on Monday, getting custom shoes made. Hopefully that goes well. And tomorrow, actually have a day set aside to do work around here, video editing and uploads and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So that's gonna be going on tomorrow. Tonight, like I said, we are heading to Via Via, where we are checking out Monty, who is playing tonight. We know personally a lot of members of the band. We got a lot of people going, and actually before we get to today's topic, I'll just say we had so much fun tonight at Via Via. There were 14 people there in either Nicarumba or Scott L. Miller vlog t-shirts. Now that the t-shirts are being given out so quickly, there are, you see them wherever we go. There's like, I mean, obviously I'm there, and Marcella and Dominica, because now we got we're getting ones for Dominica because she's been wanting tank tops. That's a lot harder to get, so we're getting those instead of regular t-shirts, and there's some other people waiting for those, so we're working on that. We're still handing out the initial ones that we got, but we're getting more pretty quickly, and it was a really fun night. I called it kind of an early night. Paul drove, I went with Paul, I set up multiple cameras, did photographs, did a bunch of stuff, and then when he left towards the end of the night, I went back with him because I need sleep. I'm been so busy that I'm going to get sick if I don't get more sleep, so I'm being very careful about that. But everyone else went out, and they were gone until between 4 and 5 in the morning. I mean, huge wild group out partying. They had a lot of fun, I guess. But we had a really good time at the concert. Excellent concert. Always fun going out here in León, and thanks to Nicarumba, who makes it possible for us to find what's going on in town. We really are going out more often, and I think everyone's finding it more enjoyable to coordinate on where we're going out more often because we're using Nicarumba. And I'm announcing today that really Nicarumba is like fully ready for people to be using. Obviously, we've been telling people about it, like get out there and use it, but as of now, it's like super ready, right? You're able to search by departamento. You're able to search by, not really search, but filter. You filter, show me only the things in León, only the things in Managua. And obviously a lot of places don't have any information yet, right? If you're looking at like Madrid up north, no, there's nothing in there. But if you're looking at Matagalpa or Granada, Managua, there's gonna be some stuff where slowly more and more places are sending things in, and you can search by or filter by the type of event. I just want concerts, I just want cultural stuff like that. Obviously concerts are the thing you're gonna find really reliably. And we have the system already automatically sending updates out to Nicoloro.com, which is basically like a Twitter feed here for Nicaragua. And so you can also follow on there if you want to see just what everything as it gets announced. It's at Nicarumba evento at nicaloro.com, and you can see it in a Twitter-like way, or you can follow with an RSS reader and follow through an RSS tool. And of course, it can be embedded in a website. There's so many things already, and of course there's tons more coming, but all of that is working today. There's links to Nicaloro, links to Nicagram on the main page. There's a dark mode now. Obviously it doesn't matter very much, but it's neat that it's there. The site's working really well. It keeps getting faster and faster. Really happy, really impressed with just how well the whole thing is working and how fast development is coming on it, and everyone is so happy to be using it. And we're getting the bands into the habit of sending in their updates for it. And some of the cool things is like when you upload to it, it automatically converts images into like really fast small formats. It puts everything on cloud storage. Like it does a lot of cool stuff behind the scenes that really let it scale and let it do a good job. So we're very just excited about that and happy with the work. Anyway, okay, so for today's topic, Chisme culture in Nicaragua. This is a really important thing. If you're thinking of moving to this part of the world, and Nicaragua, is my understanding, is stronger than other places, but this is true throughout Latin America in general. Latin American culture tends to be very, in North American terms, we would say gossipy. It's not exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. And it is a very much a cultural thing in North America. If you were to say, there's a lot of gossip going on at the office or whatever, you'll very quickly get people who are like, okay, that's inappropriate, that's unprofessional, that's culturally something we want to shut down, we don't want those things. And if you say the same things in Nicaragua, people will be like, ooh, tell me the chisme, right? I want the news of the day, I want the updates, I want to hear what's going on with everybody, and it's not looked on as a negative per se. It is a very just part of being Nicaraguan. People just accept that is going to happen, and that's how it works, and that's what you do. And it's important because for expats to understand that, first of all, if you're an expat, anywhere you go, you're a topic of conversation, so expect that. It is also really common for the chisme to be incredibly falsified, which is true anywhere of gossip. Of course, the nature of gossip is the real news is often pretty boring, and so things tend to get exaggerated or fabricated. Here, we have found that takes an entirely different degree, and things spread through town with like wildfire. Like truly, it just, you know, if someone says something crazy in the morning, everyone in town will be repeating it within hours, and you're like, how did everyone find this out? And then very quickly, because these things happen so fast, something else will come by and everyone will forget the first thing, because deep down everyone knew it was just made up. And so you get these horrible stories of like, you know, oh, so-and-so murdered, you know, her cousin in the street. And you're like, really? And then by the end of the day, you forget that person should be dead. And then you see them the next day and don't even think about the fact that they were not actually murdered or whatever. Like, it's a crazy situation, the way that it works. But there's wild stories just fly around, and people tend to be like really invested in them for really short periods of time, and then it just blows over. And it's a weird combination of being really into obviously fake news and then letting it go just as quickly. And so it's a weird thing. You kind of have to be prepared that this is going to happen. There's very little chance that you can avoid it if you're living here, if you're a part of any amount of community that's going to have people able to talk to each other. And one of the mechanisms, because people are not going on the internet, it's not like this is being posted on Facebook, I don't think, and spread that way. It really is word of mouth, because if you put this in writing places, people will go look it up later and be like, what is this craziness? But when you put it as word of mouth, it's like, I didn't say that. Oh, that's what I thought you said. It is what you said. So we've noticed though, so we were this actually happened in the future, but we were in Granada in the upcoming days, and we were at a restaurant, and apparently a famous, I call her a snack seller, I don't know a better term for it. This is a very common thing, especially in Lake Granada. There's women who will walk around, normally it's women, right? And they put like a towel or something on their head to flatten things out. They have a huge basket on top, and it's full of snacks, right? It could be chips, it could be like crackers. And normally, especially when they're good, it's not like store-bought, like these are all homemade. So it's normally the woman who's making them. She spends the day making a range of fresh whatever snacks they are, and then loads up the basket and walks around. And some people do this and no one's ever seen them, and others are really famous for it. They have really good ones, and you can actually make a decent living doing this if you're well known, you do a good job. And so there was this woman that we happened to come across, and it was pointed out to us that she was really famous for selling snacks, but she really was famous for selling the Chisme, because she would go around, talk to everyone around town, and go from person to person and be like, do you want to buy some chips? And if you bought stuff, she would sit down with you for a minute and spill the beans on whatever probably made up thing was going on for the day. I didn't speak to her, so I don't know the veracity of what she was telling, but that is kind of the vibe that you're like, oh, it's like a soap opera, and they stop by and you buy whatever, and then she sits down and you get filled in, then you can go spread it as well. So this is a big thing, and this is just accepted, and people do not see it as a negative. People don't talk about it. It's not like, oh, those people are gossiping. Totally not like that. It's everyone wants in on it. And even my office is pretty funny, you know, when I'm talking to some of the girls at the office and we have like stuff going on in our lives, we refer to it, it's a little bit different because we're telling our own stuff, right? But we refer to it as the Chisme because it also is kind of used to mean the news of the day. So it's like, oh, I've got Chisme. And it's like, oh, this thing went on with a customer, or this thing went on with, for example, those who are following the drama with the website that has been down for 17 days, that, I think 18 days, I think at this point of this video, and that would be like office Chisme that we would say, like, oh, did you hear we had a customer who did this and this is what happened? And they'd be like, oh yeah, tell me the Chisme, that's a lot of fun. And so it's sometimes it's like real news, sometimes it's like just the things that are happening that day, and sometimes it's just wild gossip that people are collecting around town. You need to be ready for this because sometimes horrible things or crazy things will be said about you or people you know, and you need to be very prepared to, one, not believe it at all, and two, not freak out that it's happening. You may need to be prepared to mitigate it in some way, like talk to some locals and be like, okay, you do know this is not what happened, right? Or this is completely fake, or this is not possible. But in general, it's just not meant for you. It is meant for the locals to entertain themselves by telling these things. And it's just part of life here. And so being prepared for it and being prepared to look the other way and not get sucked in necessarily. And we refer to a lot of this is as you know, living here. We lived in Las Piñatas, for example, for a long time, and we would refer to it as the telenovela of Las Piñatas because there is a bit of like real drama, right? So-and-so left so-and-so to go with so-and-so, and like this like there is a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and then everybody's talking about it, and then there's a whole bunch of fabricated things on top of that. So you have like actual drama with a whole bunch of gossip that's true, with a whole bunch of gossip that's fake, all mixed together, all going on all the time. And someone's always mad at somebody, and someone's always happy with somebody, and so just all this stuff. And so that Chisme culture really gets that pot going, and people get really emotional about it, and then it disappears because you can only be so excited for so long. And we refer to that as the telenovela of wherever, you know, it's the telenovela of Nicaragua, that there's every moment feels very dramatic, and yet real events don't seem to happen that much, right? So everyone's like, this thing, and then nothing happens, right? Because that thing probably wasn't happening, or it was not the big deal, but they thought it was. Anyway, that is it's something you need to kind of be prepared for if you're going to live here, that you don't want to find out later that that's something you can't handle, or be really upset about it, or think that it's personal, because it's generally not. Even Chisme that may be completely about you and feel very offensive is probably just a random story told about a random foreigner and not intended to be all that personal about you. It just ended up being assigned to you because that's kind of how it worked, or you resembled someone in the story, or whatever. And I think that that tradition goes way back, the most important literary tradition. I'm completely hypothesizing at this point, right? So tradition goes back pre-Columbian times. They had the story of El Guaguense here in Nicaragua, and that story was about corrupt government officials and a rich man who goes up against them and whatever. And after the Spanish came, that story changed, and it became a story about the Spaniards. And so this is the most important bit of like oral tradition in the country. And it has over the years morphed about different things to be as if it was a story written about those people. But those people actually were incidental. They happened to be the leaders after hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, probably hundreds, after the story was originally made. And by the time it was applied to them, you had to take it with a grain of salt. It was not a story about them in any way. They did not, none of those people were born. That country was not even around at the time that the story came about. Obviously not them, but it was applied to them later because they were the handy reference example. They were the prototypical antagonist for the story. And that's where you may end up being. So just be prepared. It's something that you may enjoy the culture. You may just enjoy that everyone sits around and talks, and it's the nature of lots of people talking in small groups and moving from group to group. It's going to happen kind of naturally. If we did the same thing in the United States, if we had that outdoor lifestyle where people just sat around talking and people move from group to group throughout the day, you'd get the same thing. So it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. It's something you will not normally think about, that's how the culture is here, and this is the result of that. Thanks for joining me. I will see all of you tomorrow.